Hi everyone, this is the Nordic Venture Show, your guide to the exciting world of Nordic startups and venture capital. In today's episode, we're exploring a startup called Evroc.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're diving into Evroc, a company making waves in the tech world.
Big waves.
Our listeners are really interested in European tech, and Evroc, well, they just won a World Economic Forum 2024 Technology Pioneer Award.
Yeah, they did.
And they're making some pretty bold claims about, the future of data and AI, especially a future where Europe kind of leads the way. So that's what we're going to unpack today.
Yeah.
What do we know about Evroc?
Well, right off the bat, that award they got, it's not just any award. The WEF, they save that recognition for companies on the absolute cutting edge of the fourth industrial revolution, Companies that could completely change industries, even the world.
Wow. That's a pretty big deal.
It is. And get this is actually Evroc's second time getting this award.
Their second time? Really? I
Yeah.
had no idea they'd been around that long.
Yeah, back in 2015, the WEF recognized them for their work with a company called Ada Devices. They were all about reducing the carbon footprint of, believe it or not, cell phones.
Huh. Interesting.
But now, under this Evroc name, they've shifted focus. They want to build, and I quote, a sustainable hyperscale cloud and Europe's critical AI infrastructure.
Okay, so that's a mouthful. Hyperscale cloud. What does that even mean? What are they actually building?
Okay, so imagine, the backbone of companies like Amazon or Google. The systems handling massive, and I mean massive amounts of data every second.
Right.
Think online shopping, streaming, social media, our entire digital lives, really. That's what Evroc wants to build, but for Europe.
Ah, okay.
And they're not just copying what's already out there. They're aiming to do it better, more sustainably, and with a big emphasis on this thing called data sovereignty.
So not just a copycat, but like a whole new approach.
Exactly.
But why does Europe even need its own cloud? Why not just stick with the big guys we already have?
Well, Thierry Breton, the EU commissioner for the internal market, he says it's about digital resilience. Europe relying on others for its data needs. That's a risk, he says. It's right on Evroc's website.
So it's more than just like having enough servers and storage space. It's about control, right?
Right.
Maybe even a bit of independence in this digital world we live in.
Exactly. And that ties into why the WEF is interested. This isn't just a tech story. We're talking geopolitics, economics, even cultural influence in the 21st century. Control over data is becoming really, really important, especially with AI on the rise.
Yeah, absolutely. Data is power, as they say. You mentioned data sovereignty earlier.
Right.
It sounds like a pretty central part of what Evroc is all about.
Right.
What does that actually mean in practice? Like, how does Evroc being based in Europe play into that whole idea?
So data sovereignty, it's all about control, really.
Okay.
Who has their hands on the data? Where's it actually stored? And what laws or rules are governing how it's used.
Got it.
So picture this. You've got a European healthcare startup, right?
Okay.
They're storing all this sensitive patient data,
Right.
but it's sitting on a server somewhere in the U.S.
Oh, I see what you're getting at.
Suddenly, that data, it's subject to U.S. laws, U.S. regulations, which might totally clash with how Europe views privacy.
That makes sense.
That's the gap Evroc is trying to bridge, you see. They're building their whole infrastructure within Europe. So European laws, European rules, the whole package.
So Evroc is offering a kind of digital safe haven then.
That's one way to put it.
European data,
Yeah,
protected by European rules.
exactly. They're betting that for a lot of European businesses, for organizations, that kind of data security, that alignment with the regulations they know, it's going to be a huge selling point.
Yeah, it's a strong argument for sure. But, it's not just about, keeping that data safe, is it? It's also making sure that those European values are, baked into how that data is used, right? How it's managed.
Absolutely. And speaking of values, Evroc is really leaning into this whole sustainability thing.
Yeah, they are.
On their website, they've got this bold claim. They want to, and I quote, redefine sustainable data centers, which is a big deal because data centers, they're not exactly known for being environmentally friendly.
Right.
These facilities, they eat up massive amounts of energy. We're talking small country levels of energy consumption. And that's contributing to carbon emissions on a global scale. Evroc is implying they've got a solution.
They're definitely, really highlighting their commitment to this whole sustainability thing.
Yeah.
But they're also being kind of vague on the details, aren't they?
Yeah.
Do we have any clues from what they've said about how they're actually going to tackle this?
That's the million-dollar question.
Right.
They keep saying sustainability is at their core, a core principle, but specifics. They're pretty quiet on those. Maybe they're still figuring it out, or maybe they're just waiting for the right time to, reveal their grand plan.
Yeah, maybe. It's almost like they're saying, just trust us on this one. But is that going to be enough? Especially for people who are, like, genuinely concerned about the environmental cost of building something this massive?
Especially given the goal they've set for themselves, right? 10 hyperscale data centers across Europe by 2030, employing over 10,000 people. That is a lot of infrastructure. Think of a data center so big it covers several football fields.
Okay, yeah.
Now multiply that by 10. That's the scale we're talking about.
That's huge. I mean, building 10 hyperscale data centers, that's a massive undertaking. And it makes you wonder, can they actually pull it off? Are they all talk, no action?
That's the billion-dollar question, isn't it? It's a seriously ambitious goal, no doubt about it. To do that, it's not just about money, right? They need the expertise, the right partnerships, and a deep, deep understanding of the European market. And they can't forget about the competition.
Right, because it's not like the big tech companies are just going to sit back and watch this happen. They're going up against giants like Amazon, Google, Microsoft. I mean, these companies have resources coming out their ears, global reach, the whole 9 yards. What are the chances of a newcomer, even one with a mission like theirs, disrupting that kind of dominance?
It's a real David versus Goliath situation. The odds aren't exactly in their favor. But Evroc might have an ace up their sleeve. This whole data sovereignty thing, they're not just trying to offer the same service for cheaper, they're tapping into something that people in Europe are increasingly worried about. Data security and control. Who has it?
And that desire for tech independence, right? They want a digital world that reflects European values, European priorities.
Exactly.
And if Evroc can make that happen, make themselves the go-to for that,
Become synonymous with it.
yeah, then maybe, just maybe, they've got a shot.
Especially if they can actually back up these sustainability claims, right? Because the European market, they're really conscious of environmental issues. If Evroc can genuinely show they're committed to green tech, to using resources responsibly,
That's going to be a game changer.
it'd be a huge advantage for them.
So it's a real balancing act for Evroc.
It is. They're juggling a lot. Ambition, trying to do something really new, and then the realities of, well, the whole world.
They have the stakes. They're pretty high with all this.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. If Evroc actually pulls this off, we could be talking about a whole new digital landscape.
In Europe, you mean?
In Europe, yeah, but also globally. Imagine data not just in the hands of a few massive companies, but managed more regionally. That changes how we think about the internet itself,
A shift from, like, one central power to, multiple power centers.
Right, exactly.
For our listeners who might not be familiar with that kind of jargon, we're talking about moving away from this idea of one dominant force calling all the shots to a system where you've got many different centers of influence. It's a fascinating idea, but is it really possible? Can a company like Evroc really shake things up that much?
That's the billion-euro question, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's tough to say. I mean, yeah, the big tech companies, they seem untouchable almost. The resources they have, the infrastructure, it's global. But Evroc, they're onto something. People want more control, more security, and they want their technology to, actually reflect their values. It's a real desire.
It's like we're seeing the beginning of, I don't know, like a seismic shift in the digital world, maybe.
Maybe. Yeah, it's too early to tell, for sure.
And whether Evroc ends up being the winner, or even if they, stumble along the way, it feels like they've started something important.
Absolutely. They're asking the big questions, right? About data sovereignty, about sustainability, about what the internet is even going to look like in the future. These questions, they're not going away, even if Evroc does.
So for our listener who's now, deep in the world of Evroc, hyperscale clouds, and all this talk about digital resilience, what's the one big takeaway you want them to walk away with as they follow this story?
That's easy. Pay attention. What Evroc is doing, it reminds us that technology, it's not this neutral thing. It reflects the values, the goals of the people who build it. So whether they end up being Europe's cloud champion or it's a cautionary tale, what they're doing says a lot about where we're headed in this digital age.
Well said. A huge thank you to you, as always, for guiding us through this. It's complicated, it's fascinating, and to our listener, keep your eyes on this one. We have a feeling this story's just getting started.
Thanks for listening to the Nordic Venture Show. Don't forget to subscribe and stay tuned for more stories of innovation from the Nordics.